Now on the CTV News at 5, construction zone crackdown.
The majority of motorists were speeding 20 to 30 kilometers an hour over the speed limit.
A warning from police to slow down as bridge rehab work continues on Whoop Up Drive. Plus, the debate heats up on Alberta's separation from Canada. Signatures can now be collected for an approved referendum question. And a Lethbridge racquetball player is booking his ticket to the World Championships in China. Details coming up in sports.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Mark Villani.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. The Lethbridge Police Service is putting out a reminder of construction zone safety after officers saw a significant increase in illegal driving behavior. Police say nearly 70 drivers were stopped doing illegal U-turns, and another 50 speeding tickets were handed out in just a matter of hours. Carson Marsouk reports.
It's a clear example of the illegal driving behavior that the Lethbridge Police Service is trying to put a stop to.
A lot of people are seeing that they can't take the westbound off-ramp, so they'll do a U-turn on 5th Street.
But doing a U-turn could come at a cost of $162, a fine nearly 70 drivers received on Monday. The bridge rehabilitation project has closed several lanes of traffic on Whoop Up Drive and lowered speed limits from 90 kilometers per hour to 50. Police are asking drivers to obey those speed limits.
50 motorists were stopped and given violation tickets for speeding. The majority of motorists were speeding 20 to 30 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, and one was recorded 45 kilometers an hour over the speed limit,
which he says puts the construction workers and other drivers at a greater risk of getting injured.
You get people that are doing 80 past a worker. That's unacceptable.
The 2-month-long project began last week to complete the final phase of the rehabilitation project.
The expansion joints are something like 40 years old, and they're leaking. And of course, what that means is the salts and the erosion goes through the joints and then starts deteriorating the structure below.
LPS will continue traffic enforcement initiatives on Whoop Up Drive throughout the project, including using photo radar. Tony Ramatowski says when everyone goes the speed limit, the risk of a collision significantly decreases.
There's not many roadways to get to the west side. There's only 2 options basically, and once those roads get busy, it does increase time and people do get frustrated. And as well, if there's construction going on, obviously it's going to increase people's frustrations. But people have to slow down, take their time, and take alternate routes if it does get busy.
Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
And the city of Lethbridge is asking drivers to plan ahead, take Highway 3, and use the city's web cameras on its website to avoid being stuck in traffic. The rehab project on the bridge is scheduled to be completed by the end of September. Well, Alberta's government is investing $50 million to add 62 pre-made classrooms across the province this fall, but a very small amount of that funding is coming to Lethbridge. Just one modular classroom is being announced in Lethbridge for the upcoming 2025 to 26 school year. The vast majority of the funding will instead go to the creation of a couple dozen new classrooms in both Calgary and Edmonton's public and Catholic school boards. The province says construction for pre-made modular classrooms will begin this summer and be installed throughout the school year. Medicine Hat's chief administrator is being placed on a temporary paid leave of absence by City Council. The city announced this week that Ann Mitchell will serve the leave following the results of a pair of special council meetings held Friday and Monday behind closed doors. The topic for both of those meetings was a personnel matter, and a more legal advice was actually sought over the weekend because of that. Council members voted unanimously to place Mitchell on leave and will now delegate her powers to the city's clerk. It's also been moved that Medicine Hat Mayor Lindsay Clark, Deputy Mayor Sheila Sharps, and Acting Mayor Alison Van Dyke are authorized to retain and instruct an investigator to provide a report to council, with costs being paid through the city manager contingency fund. The city says it will respect the privacy and confidentiality of its employees, but won't comment any further on personal matters. Danielle in now with some weather. Looks like we have a couple hot days coming up in the forecast.
We absolutely have some hot days. We have a lot of sunshine, a lot of vitamin D, and most communities drying out from all the rainfall that we've had so far this month in general. All right, so it's quiet out there except for one pocket, and we talked about this, and this will be tomorrow, late day tomorrow as well. Crozes Pass, Pincher Creek, and then off to the west into the Cranbrook area. The risk of thunderstorm activity, again, non-severe, but there is the risk as we head through the rest, I would say an hour or two, and then things quiet down for the night. Okay, here's the heat warning in place. Lomond to Brooks, over to Vulcan, and then up to the north, including Empress as well. So all areas will be hot for the next couple days, but the criteria is a bit different for those areas. We're just looking at a lot of heat, especially building in over these next 2 days. 26 is the temperature in Lethbridge, mainly sunny. More details coming up, Mark.
Thanks, Danielle. Signatures can now be collected for an approved referendum question in Alberta. The question is, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? Former Conservative MLA Thomas Lukasik is behind this initiative. Alberta's chief electoral officer says because the question was approved before legislative changes to the Citizen Initiative Act, it will need to follow the old rules. That means over 293,000 signatures need to be gathered by October 28th. Well, a candidate debate last night in the federal riding of Battle River Crowfoot.
It would be the privilege of my life to provide both the local representation and the national leadership to the community.
I am not here for any personal aspirations. I am here for you. I am here for my neighbors. I am here for all of our communities.
A moderator asked questions submitted by the public ahead of time, touching on immigration, healthcare, agriculture, and the economy. There are more than 200 candidates running in this by-election. Voting day is August 18th. Now, in more national news, the Bank of Canada is maintaining its key interest rate at 2.75%. The central bank says while some elements of U.S. trade policy have started to become more concrete, trade negotiations remain fluid and the threat of new sectoral tariffs continue. It goes on to say that the Canadian economy has slowed but is showing signs of resilience. And while inflation is still close to 2%, underlying inflation has picked up. While they've been around for decades, more Pelicans, though, are now flocking to Alberta.
Even my daughter was out here one day. She's like, "Dad, is that a swan?" I said, "Nope, that's a pelican." You know, it was very cool.
Nature Alberta says the American white pelican is the only pelican species in Alberta, and its breeding colonies are getting larger. Nick Carter says while conditions are prime for pelicans right now, they are a sensitive species, and it wouldn't take much for their numbers to drop.
These colonies are really susceptible to diseases and other kind of environmental impacts, habitat loss, that kind of thing.
Pelicans fly up from the California coast in May to breed and fish. They leave by September. If you're able to donate, you could save a life. Still ahead, the call for O-negative blood donors to support Lethbridge patients in need.
Here's your Skywatch weather camera, and oh boy, is it sunny and hot. We're drying out in a lot of places from all the rain we've received. We do have rain and cooler temperatures on the way for the weekend once again. So I'll show you that coming up in the long range forecast here. 25 degrees is the high in Calgary, and the current temperature so far. Calgary will climb a little higher than that before the day is said and done. 27 in Edmonton, and look at out east, 30 still in Toronto. So they've had quite a bit of heat out east, 30 in Halifax as well, and close to that even in St. John's, Newfoundland. Okay, right now, focusing closer to home, while we're not looking at huge numbers, considering the south can actually get quite warm, we are looking at high numbers that are high enough in some communities to spark the extreme heat warning. So just to the north of Lethbridge. Now, the warning criteria is a bit different in these areas, but it's basically going to be hot everywhere. We're looking at adding at least another couple degrees to most communities when we look at temperatures for tomorrow, really for the next couple of days. But right now in those high 20s, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Milk River. Okay, here's that heat warning in place, and this really extends from Champion and Vulcan up to Standard, Brooks, Lomond's included in this, over to Empress, and then up. Again, hot everywhere for these next couple days. Warning criteria is a little different. For example, you have to be a couple degrees warmer to spark the warning further to the south. But overall, what you can expect is a good amount of heat, and even the overnight lows will be in those mid-teens. So it's hard to get some relief from the heat, even those overnight time, even if you open up the window. So heads up on that for the next couple of days. We've had this instability build in right in the mountains. We talked about this not gaining enough strength to track off to the east. This is where it will stay, and it will build in again in this exact area for tomorrow, and it will stay there as well. Everywhere else is looking at sunshine and dry weather and heat. And there's just a closer look at what's going on. So that will die out probably in the next hour or two and quiet down for the night, but then again, it will be back later in the day tomorrow. Here's that ridge of high pressure building in. It will continue to do so, but it will move out for the weekend. So just to give you an idea of what's to come, here's a look at tomorrow. Mainly sunny skies, again in that far southwest corner. A little bit of shower activity and weak thunderstorm activity, but then late Friday, showers and thunderstorms for most communities, and then rainfall really kicks in for the weekend. All right, East Kootenay area, 15 overnight, small risk of a thunderstorm tonight and late day tomorrow, a high of 32 tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. Same idea with the mix of sun and cloud and with the small risk of a thunderstorm for Christmas Pass and late day tomorrow. Once again, 26 degrees for the high. Medicine Hat, 29, all clear. So a lot of heat. Maybe a little wind, which might help you out. 28 degrees for Lethbridge for tomorrow. Maybe some fog patches in the morning, getting up to 29 for Friday. And by the time we get into Saturday, 28. Now, for the weekend, we are looking at thunderstorm and shower activity possible. So 5 to 10 millimeters is actually possible both Saturday and Sunday. So expect things to cool down by Sunday, especially with just a high of 23 by then.
Canadian Blood Services in Lethbridge is asking anyone with O-negative blood types to donate if they're able to. The organization is holding a special blood donation event at the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center on Wednesday, August 13th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. The reason O-negative blood is needed is because it's considered universally acceptable for all patients in the event of an emergency. Canadian Blood Services says that when seconds count, there's often no time to check blood types, so O-negative is their preferred choice. Anyone able to donate is asked to call 1-800-188 to donate to book an appointment. Well, the latest measles update released by the Alberta government shows a slightly better day when it comes to new cases, at least. Here's a look at the new numbers. 16 new cases were announced today, 11 of which occurred in the north zone of the province and 5 in the south zone. Alberta Health says 19 of these cases are still active and 2 people have been hospitalized as a result. Researchers say they've made significant progress on treating a common knee issue. The condition often requires knee replacement, but as CTV's Rita Ishmael reports, there's a new approach that might not be necessary.
Knee osteoarthritis affects people around the world, bringing pain, stiffness, and eventually joint replacement surgery for many. But a new study led by researchers at Western University and the Fowler Kennedy Sport Medicine Clinic is offering hope.
The surgeons will try to intervene earlier in the disease process than later, after the patient is not improving with good non-operative care. So in the surgery, they'll take that malaligned limb, so that bowed limb, and actually straighten it to shift loads away from that most damaged compartment of the knee.
The 2-year clinical trial followed 145 patients, comparing those who had high tibial osteotomy, or HTO, along with non-surgical therapy, to those who had therapy alone. The results were clear. HTO slowed joint damage, reduced pain, and improved movement, offering the first real evidence that a treatment can actually change the course of osteoarthritis.
Surgery has a long-standing history, many decades. It actually has roots in a lot of countries in Europe, and we actually had the original procedures being done here by Dr. Peter Fowler.
While HTO is less common than joint replacement, the study's authors say it deserves renewed attention, especially for people in their 50s with specific alignment issues.
The study also has wider implications in that it shows if you improve the biomechanics acting on the joint, you can actually alter the course of osteoarthritis.
The procedure isn't for everyone, but for the right patients, it could delay or even prevent knee replacement. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
Pharmacists are warning about a shortage of common painkillers impacting patients across the country. CTV's Sean Varden now with the details.
So this is your medication. Do you have any questions? Ottawa pharmacist Mohammed Al-Hawane is seeing the direct impact of drug shortages in Canada.
We do have a cancer patient who depend on a monthly supply of one of their medications, the oxycodone and Tylenol. It's called Percocet, or the generic of it. Unfortunately, we had to delay the dispensing until the doctor replies and give us an alternative.
Right now, common pain medications like Tylenol 3 and Percocet and related drugs are in short supply.
These meds are designed to help with breakthrough pain. Usually they have long-acting pain medications for their chronic problems, but they take these meds for something called breakthrough pain, so it has to be there.
Health Canada says the current shortage is temporary due to manufacturing disruptions and increased demand, and is working with manufacturers, distributors, provinces, and territories to monitor the situation and explore options to increase access. The Neighbourhood Pharmacy Association of Canada says these shortages happen regularly with all kinds of medications. Finding alternatives can take time and can sometimes only be done by a doctor. They say expanded powers for pharmacists could help.
So if pharmacists had expanded scope to do more and be recognized as practitioners in the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, they could support patients more with prescribing, with dosage changes.
It's something some patients favor.
Pharmacists are totally capable of replacing, substituting medication. That's what they do.
Health Canada says the current shortage should be resolved sometime in August. Until then, patients will have to cope, hoping their medication won't be impacted by the next shortage. Sean Varden, CTV News.
Well, he's a Canadian national champion, and now he's representing Canada on the world stage. Still ahead, we tell you about a Lethbridge racquetball player heading to the World Championships in China. Welcome back. The Lethbridge Bulls were on the road last night for an away game against the Brooks Bombers. The Bulls came ready to play as they took a dominant 11-2 win over the Bombers. The Medicine Hat Mavericks also found the win column last night against the Swift Current 57s, taking their game 8-6. Tonight, the Bulls back at home when they welcome the Okotoks Dogs to Spitz Stadium, and the Bombers are heading north for a match against the Fort McMurray Giants. A Lethbridge racquetball player is set to represent Team Canada at the upcoming World Games. 29-year-old Kobe Iwasa has booked his ticket to Chengdu, China, where he will compete for Canada in the men's singles and mixed doubles categories. The action is set to begin on August 13th. Iwasa is known for his trademark intensity and athleticism, already an 8-time Canadian champion, along with a World and Pan American Games medalist. He's got quite the resume on the court, and he's always been a consistent force in international play for Canada. We wish Iwasa the best of luck in the upcoming tournament. A Lethbridge Hurricanes forward is announcing his commitment to an NCAA Division I school at the end of the next upcoming season. 20-year-old Logan Wormald is committing to Nebraska Omaha for the 2026-27 season following his Western Hockey League eligibility. The 2005 born forward says he's thrilled for this opportunity. Wormald, who was originally drafted by the Hurricanes in the third round, 45th overall back in 2020, appeared in 57 regular season games last season, recording a career-high 70-point season with 30 goals and 40 assists. Wormald will return to the Hurricanes this fall for his final stint with the club. Canada's Summer McIntosh has cruised into the finals of the 200-meter butterfly at the World Swimming Championships in Singapore.
McIntosh has responded to the challenge there of the American, and look at a glide past. It is McIntosh who's going to win it. Smith will be in second place, and in third it was Ellen Walsh.
McIntosh wins this one. She will now try for her third gold medal of the competition in the final. The Canadian swimming superstar is hoping to win a total of 5 gold medals at these events. Canadian tennis star Leylah Fernandez got knocked out at the National Bank Open tournament. Fernandez went up against Australia's Maya Joint in the first round and lost in 2 straight sets while eliminated from singles play. She also had to compete in the tournament with her doubles partner and sister, Bianca Fernandez. That happened today. A valiant effort from that pair, but they came up short, losing in straight sets. Still ahead, how a Southern Alberta Heritage Museum is keeping a lost art alive. We tell you about their Morse code program coming up. It's a lost art, and Morse code is in danger of disappearing forever. But at a Southern Alberta Heritage Museum, a new generation of telegraph operators is emerging. CTV's Kevin Fleming reports.
They're two of the 6 junior members of the Morse Telegraph Club at Heritage Park. Sienna Wright says it's easier to send a message in Morse code than to receive and decode one. Her technique is to write down what she hears and then turn the code into letters of the alphabet.
I'm fascinated by the past. I really like learning how things were done and dressing up like the past, so I really enjoy doing this.
Ariane Aubin has memorized the code and says it takes a keen ear to decipher an incoming message. Her sister is a member too, and they practice at home.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I've texted her in Morse code before. I've also tapped between our walls at home, so it's sort of like our own little thing that no one else really understands.
Morse code was invented in the 1840s as a way to send messages quickly over long distances.
The railroads primarily used it to transmit train orders from a dispatcher to a little station like this. That was the chief reason. They weren't using it all the time, so any extra capacity in the system, it was telegrams.
To get messages to engineers and conductors of a moving train, operators used hoops at the end of a long pole so the train didn't have to stop, a technique still in practice at the park. Marilyn McGuire heads the club and says visitors at the park enjoy seeing their names spelled out in Morse code. She says it's important to teach the craft to the next generation.
It's a dying art. People who did it as a job are in their late 80s, some of them in their 90s. There are a few that have picked it up and learned as their 70s, but this is the only club internationally that has been working with young people.
We have people come in that say their grandparents used to do it, and it's sort of nice for like a newer generation to sort of continue, know a bit of the history.
Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
Well, if you love Oreos and you love peanut butter cups, then this next story is for you. Oreos and Reese's are teaming up on a collaboration combining the flavors of both snacks. Here's what's really interesting. The 2 sweet treats are owned by 2 different companies. They say it's in response to consumer demand, but it could also be that both companies are trying to generate a little bit of buzz. Looks like a delicious new combination. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.